Our next speaker is from the President's Award for Youth Empowerment. It is the CEO, Mr. Nkagare Makhudu. Thank you so much for being here. The President's Award is something I'm so enthralled by. I tell as many people about it. I even got my son to do it, and of course I'm trying to get my daughter as well. It's just amazing at how you could give children an opportunity to develop the skills that will take them so far later on in life, and to be able to put this into a framework and give them the necessary support. So we welcome you today. Thank you for being here. Let's welcome
Thank you. You actually spoke about the President's Award far better than I would have actually spoken about us, basically. Can I leave the microphone?
Yeah, sure.
Good morning, beautiful people. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Sanbonani, Ninjani, Nyapi. Great stuff. I'm inspired by young people who take charge of their destiny. I would have really loved to talk to the young people. Unfortunately, they're not available. I always say to young people that success is equals to opportunity plus effort multiplied by commitment minus complaining. I choose not to complain today. My name is Nkagare Makhudu, and I work for the President's Award. Together with me is Makhudu, who is our head of development. Dr. Nico, I would like to say to you that I believe that entrepreneurship has to be cultivated at early childhood development. It's absolutely critical that we inculcate entrepreneurship within the curriculum at foundation phase. Ipsos, in collaboration with the Baike Foundation, has released its annual global parent survey looking at parents' perceptions of education and the schools they send their children to. Parents were polled on what they think of schools, what their priorities would be for education, and how well they think their children would actually perform in the schools they've taken their kids to. The survey asked almost 27,500 parents from 29 countries across the globe, including South Africa, with the data weighted by age, gender, as well as region. Parents' confidence in the quality of teaching at their children's schools is high globally, with 78% rating it good or very good. However, when parents were asked about the quality of free to attend schools in their country in general, they were far less confident, with only 45% of parents surveyed rating them as good. That's what the report says. While globally parents remain optimistic that their children's education and perceptions are particularly negative when you look at South Africa. It is really sad that we have a major challenge in South Africa in how we perceive education, the quality of education in our country. We look at it as absolutely appalling. This is a sad reality. How do we begin to change this bleak picture? We can only change the picture by lobbying strategic partners in terms of creating shared value. When you look at our education system, there are three key factors that influence behavior change. It's the environment, family, as well as the community. Education begins at home. It becomes a futile exercise when you start advocating for quality education when the kids are already in high school. We need to begin at early childhood development. It's absolutely imperative that we start advocating for parents' involvement in terms of participation in the education of their kids. I was saddened when I looked earlier at the kids who were available here. I was wishing or hoping to see parents available. And I would like to commend each and every single parent who's currently available in terms of supporting their own children. Almost 3/4, that is 72% of South African parents, think that standards of education have gotten worse in the last 10 years, higher than any other country surveyed. It was also the highest ranked country, South Africa. It's really sad. I was really saddened when I looked at the statistics yesterday. When it came that the education system was set to deteriorate further. So basically, if you look at about the next 10 years, there is a likelihood of a further 50% deterioration in terms of the quality of education in our country. In addition, more than half, that is 54%, of South African parents rate free to attend schools as fairly poor or very poor. A rate higher than any other country except for Uganda at 66%. According to the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, education is a right. And I believe we all know that education is an absolute right. As stated by the SDGs, a quality education is an imperative because it is not enough to attend school. Rather, all children must be able to fully benefit their experience. And this has to be a holistic process. When young people traverse a journey in terms of their own development, they don't have to traverse the journey in isolation of their own parents. It's absolutely imperative that every single segment of the society is engaged in that regard. From parents, we need to be involved as parents in the education of our own kids. I wish I was speaking in Parliament because I feel very passionate about this topic. We need to ensure that we engage more and more parents in the development of our own children. Quality education as defined by the Flemish Association for Development, Cooperation and Technical Assistance is one that provides all learners with capabilities they are required to become economically productive, Dr. Nico. So I was saying earlier as you walked out that it's absolutely imperative that we cultivate a culture of entrepreneurship within early childhood development. I am of a notion that, as I said, it becomes a futile exercise when at the later stage you start communicating quality education. Foundation phase is of absolute importance. Sustainable Development Goal 4 on quality education further ensures that inclusive and equitable quality education promotes lifelong learning. If we take a closer look at the correlation between non-formal education as well as formal education, it's absolutely important that we recognize the value thereof. Formal education is geared towards pedagogical development of the young person. Non-formal education is absolutely attributed to life skills, ensuring that we inculcate life skills within our own young people. However, when you infuse the two, the ultimate goal is to ensure that we create a complete young person who is employable. Employability is not only geared towards being employed by an ESCO, which is going to load shed tomorrow. Employability is also geared towards ensuring that we create more and more entrepreneurs. The President's Award for Youth Empowerment is currently advocating for training inmates. You spoke about inmates earlier, Dr. Nico. The President's Award works closely with correctional services. We work closely with schools as well as institutions of higher learning. We work closely with residential youth care facilities. And what we are now doing is to ensure that we cultivate the culture of entrepreneurship within correctional services. That is basically geared towards reintegration and diversion of youth. The challenge that our correctional system is currently facing with is not rehabilitation. It's reintegration and diversion of young people. The problem that correctional services is faced with, even though they might have actually been giving quality education as well as an array of skills that you can think of within correctional setup, The challenge is reintegration of those young people into the society. They become ostracized because of what they've committed in terms of the crime and so forth. So what the President's Award does is to train them in entrepreneurship so that they can utilize the skills they've attained within a prison setup or correctional facility setup so that they can employ more young people within their communities. That's where entrepreneurship comes in. All these issues are not in isolation. We need to see the value of integrating this. Hence I spoke about creating shared as well as sustainable value. I feel honored, to be here, honestly speaking. So when I saw World Speech Day, and I thought, this is actually a great platform for us to start advocating, for issues of development of our own young people. If you look at South Africa, there are 13.5 million young people between the ages of 14 to 24, which constitutes 24% of our entire population. 38.2% of 15 to 34-year-olds were unemployed in the first quarter of 2018. Am I lying, Palestine? Mm-hmm. This is a really bleak picture. What saddens me the most is that we've got the most articulate people in the society. We've got some of the best institutions, academic institutions in Africa. We've got some of the best opportunities. I traveled to Ghana not so long ago, as well as Kenya. If you travel across, the continent, you start realizing, how good people are doing out there with the least they've got. Whilst we're blessed with all the most unbelievable resources, and we're not utilizing them. I would urge each and every person to start traveling and start realizing how blessed we are as a country. I know I'm diverting a bit, we've been talking about quality education, but I think it's absolutely important to emphasize the essence of being exposed to what's happening out there. When Thabo Mbeki spoke about African Renaissance, he was not stupid. He was talking about, the revival of Africa and so forth, and realization of the potential that we have as Africa. When you have people who are traveling from abroad, coming to our country, and they don't want to leave, it means they see how blessed we are as a country, but we're not realizing the value that we have and all the blessings that we have as a country. What I want to say is that the President's Award for Youth Empowerment challenges young people between the ages of 14 to 24 to discover their purpose, develop their character, and determine their future in building a better South Africa. The primary objective of the President's Award is to deliver what we call non-formal education. And hence I earlier on spoke about the infusion or the correlation between non-formal education as well as formal education. What I'm trying to say, is that we're really blessed to be at the University of Pretoria. That we need to start realizing how we can draw formal education and infuse it with non-formal education. If you look at the certificate that is presented by the President's Award, signed by the State President Cyril Ramaphosa as well as His Royal Highness Prince Philip, it adds value in terms of the life orientation curriculum of our young people. There's more and more young people that we actually take into universities abroad because of that particular certificate. The gold certificate of the President's Award can be utilized anywhere in the 130 countries that are implementing the program. It's absolutely prestigious and adds more value to the CV of a young person. According to the statistics that we got from Retumetse High School in Soshanguve, who've been implementing the President's Award since 2014 now, they have asserted that the young people who are participating on the President's Award have obtained between 3 and 7 distinctions consistently since 2014 because of the award program. If you look at the 2014 survey that was conducted by the National Youth Development Agency on the award impact, I'm trying to emphasize the issue of quality education. On the award impact, they had spoken about the young people, the 320 award units that were engaged in terms of the young people who participate on the program. about 72% of the young people who were part of that study asserted that the President's Award helped them to do well in school. The value of non-formal education and how that needs to be infused into formal education so as to ensure that we're creating a network of employable young people. I chose not to look at the definitions of quality, what quality education is defined as, because I'm talking to the converted, I'm talking to academics, I'm talking to people who know all about this, these definitions. I feel it's absolutely important that we realize that it's important that we start teaching our kids well from home, guys. We need to start teaching our kids from home. Often we leave the responsibility of education to who? To the teachers, to the educators. And that's absolutely late. So in closing, I would like to say to you amazing people that I am counting on you to start engaging more of your young people to ensure that, if you are already supporting your kids, there's something called tuning. But with the tuning program, if you are from an affluent school, please ensure that you engage an under-resourced school in your area and partner in terms of their own development. That's the only way we'll defeat the poverty that you spoke about, Dr. Nico. The only way for us to address the drivers of high-risk behavior, your peer pressure, your coercion, your substance abuse, your lack of parental guidance and communication, many other things that you may be looking at is through partnerships. We cry foul about crime in the country. It's the education that we're not giving our kids. People are frustrated out there. I believe we are all on the same page, guys. I believe we are all on the same page. I'm urging each one of you to start engaging with the President's Award winner. I'm really delighted that you were able to advocate on our behalf. But I also want to emphasize that, and I'm grateful to everyone who's involved with the award program. Was it last week or week before last? The Gauteng Premier Service Excellence Award basically gave us an award for service excellence. And that's not us basically doing the job, it's the young people, your kids are the ones who are doing the job. Because remember I said it's a personal challenge for young people, which is absolutely balanced and non-competitive. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. This has been absolutely phenomenal. All of you are doing great things. The guys who are performing here, what you're doing, guys, it's called a skill section of the President's Award. The award offers 3 levels, bronze, silver, as well as gold. It comprises of 4 sections: community service, physical recreational sport, skill, as well as the adventurous journey. What you guys did just now is a skills component of the President's Award. Get yourself enrolled. Thank you.